I've been thinking, with the recent announcements from Acer with their handheld and its potential price point around $600 to $700, I've been thinking, what is the best low cost in this context, a best budget PC handheld? And that's changed quite a bit, so bear in mind that this video might not necessarily age quite well, especially if it's using any sales or used deals, because the market tends to fluctuate, and I feel like right now the market's not in the best spot, and I suspect very quickly these devices are going to become a fair bit cheaper due to the next generation of PC handhelds looking like to be one of the best we've ever seen with the new Ryzen AI 300 chips. Starting off with the Lenovo Legion Go, this device originally released around $800 but can commonly be found for around $600 to $700 brand new. And my goal for this video is to have them be under or at $400, and the used market isn't looking particularly great for the Legion Go right now. I used to see deals for around $350 to $400 fairly regularly. I don't really know what has happened to the used market for this device recently. That maybe just better options have come out, so there's just less overall, leaving just the expensive ones out there. But currently, you can find a Lenovo Legion Go for well more than $400, being around $500 to $550, and that disqualifies it for my recommendation for this video. But it is worth mentioning that the Lenovo Legion Go is still one of the best PC handhelds out there, offering some of the most unique ways to play with the detachable controllers and having the built-in kickstand, and having some of the best screen technology found on PC handhelds. The next group of PC handhelds are all going to be of a similar vein. Think of Ayaneo, GPD, and many others such as them. And while those devices are generally amazing and I love their build quality, especially Ayaneo's retro line, they have very awesome design aesthetics and overall very well engineered devices. Thermally, they can be debated whether or not they're good at all, but they're still very nice looking devices, having that one sheet of glass on top, truly beautiful devices. But you don't really see many of them on the used market. I struggled to find more than 5, and their average price was like $600. So for the purposes of this video, they have been disqualified. And same thing goes for GPD. Though they had a fair bit more options, being a lot older of a company, so they've had a huge back catalog of devices, most of them were either too old or not strong enough to be really worth anything. For example, I found a GPT Win 4 with a Ryzen 7000 series chipset, and that's awesome, but when you realize it is a Ryzen 3, and it has half the cores and half the compute units of its bigger siblings, making it basically worse than the Steam Deck for gaming, and at the price of around $500, not exactly worth it. There are other GPT devices, though their names are very long and frankly aren't worth mentioning because they tend to have older Intel-based systems on them, so they're not necessarily worth talking about at all. Those sure are around the $200 price point, not necessarily the most performant option you can choose, especially considering competition, though we'll get into that later. Next is the ROG Ally, and honestly, the ROG Ally has been one of my most recommended devices. The original ROG Ally with the Z1 Extreme can be easily found on eBay for anywhere between $350 to $400, the very top end of what I recommend, and being one of the first options that meets my requirements for being a budget PC handheld. It offers stellar performance if you can find it for the right price. And unfortunately, you won't be able to find any of these open box because open box pricing has been quite terrible. I had anticipated with the release of the ROG Ally X, we would see a sharp decline in the price of the original ROG Ally to sort of remove old stock and make room for the Ally X. But from what it seems like, the price of the Ally X is holding firm, and they're only going to be discounting the original ROG Ally as sort of the budget option. Think of the original ROG Ally being split into two product categories with the Z1 Extreme and non-Extreme. Now they're just going to have the two Z1 Extreme versions and just sell the X version for cheaper because of the worse battery life, the less storage, and the worse cooling. I'm not entirely sure. To me, they perform similarly enough, but one doesn't necessarily warrant spending an extra $200 on it brand new, in my opinion, especially considering it's the same processor. Granted, the extra 6 gigabytes of RAM is really nice, but to me, it isn't exactly worth it. I've made a whole video talking about this device. For the original ROG Ally being found on eBay, you can find it for a pretty decent price, and I love the ROG Ally original. It has proven itself to be a strong contender if you're okay with accepting its less than stellar battery life and ASUS's less than amazing RMA process. Saving the best for last is the Valve Steam Deck. It is consistently one of my favorite devices, and a device that I recommend a lot, especially if you're seeking a tremendous value. I truly do love the Steam Deck. I've made videos using it as a dedicated PC. How does it actually work doing serious work on this device? I've made videos talking about installing Windows on this device. And honestly, it is an amazing experience, and the Steam Deck is so customizable. You can even install things like EmuDeck on this thing and turn it into an emulation powerhouse. That is now something you can do to things like the ROG Ally, but it's still a ways away from being as good as it is on the Steam Deck. And right now, you can get the Steam Deck for just under $300 at $296.65. And that is for the 64 gig LCD model. And if you want the 512 gig model, that is on sale for 25% off with $336.75. That is a limited time sale that is going to be going through September 26th. So I'll leave that alert down in the description once it has ended, so you do not have to be upset if you watch this video, let's say like in October. But you can easily find used Steam Decks on eBay for around that same $300 price point, and those most tend to be the 512 gig model, seemingly being the most popular one that they've sold. Oddly enough, I would have thought that the 64 gig model would have been the most popular, because that's the one I bought, and I just upgraded the storage myself, because that is just, to me, financially, the thing that makes the most sense. It helps when you spend $6 on a used SSD, though. Typically, you would want to buy like a brand new SSD of a much larger capacity than what I did. I don't recommend buying used storage, but I don't care, so I bought used SSDs, and it still works. It's been a year later, and it's running fine. But that doesn't call for that it's gonna have a very long life. It could very easily die tomorrow, and I would lose everything installed onto it. Granted, I always keep a scheduled backup on one of my external drives because I keep it plugged into the dock most of the time, so I'm not too worried about losing anything important. I would highly recommend, if you're in the market for a PC handheld right now and you want to buy one right now, my goal would be to spend as little you possibly can, because next generation PC handhelds are right around the corner. Just wait. In a couple months, we're going to start seeing all the announcements and pre-releases and all that stuff, and you're going to feel really dumb for buying an ROG Ally X right now. Because the next generation of PC handhelds, from what we've seen from the most recent AMD CPU and APU releases, is going to be amazing, rivaling the power of some older, yes, but still high-end dedicated graphics. Granted, it is like a 2014 Titan NVIDIA card, and it compares most closely to a modern 1650 desktop card, but still very impressive that just an integrated graphics card can compete with even old high-end graphics cards. Still very impressive. I'm incredibly excited. I would love to hear what you guys think, though. If you were to buy a PC handheld right now, what route would you go? Would you go a Steam Deck or a used ROG Ally? I would love to hear what you guys think about this. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. All that other social media garbage down below. And last but not least, have a wonderful day.